Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel for another roundtable review. With me once again, joined by Miles and Pete and Josh, all with our
Hello.
sonic screwdrivers. Ta-da! Oh, if it's gonna, there we go. Yeah,
Took me ages to get
There you
hold of
go.
one of these. I finally got one.
yeah.
So
That'll
quick.
do.
They're back in stock, aren't they?
Can I
And
Yeah.
can I just ask a question before we start?
What?
yeah,
It's probably
Go on.
important. What are we actually reviewing? Are we doing both?
that's a good point, isn't it? I
I get
guess
told nothing.
so. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I was debating kind of whether to do it as one video or like two parts. I guess it will depend on how long we go for. We shall see, faithful viewer. You will know by the time you're watching this what's up. Yes, obviously the season one premiere has been and gone, and we're now into the series. We've got Boom coming up this week, and what, five more adventures after that, or four depending how you count them. So, yeah, very exciting stuff. But today we're going to be discussing the first two episodes, Space Babies and the Devil's Chord. So viewers will probably be quite familiar with some of my views about these episodes already, on my initial views at least. Viewers might also have heard some of Miles's views about these episodes on the Knowing Who podcast.
Go listen to Knowing Who. 25 in TV and film at the minute.
Yes, very
Well
good.
done.
And
Don't
then
know how.
there's Josh and Pete, who, yeah, I don't think you'll have posted your thoughts on them anywhere really. So it's a mystery.
No.
It's
It's a mystery.
a mystery.
I still don't even know what I think of them, to be honest. So I feel like when I talk about it, then I will realise.
It helps, doesn't it? Yeah, I kind of
Right, he
feel
starts off and he's like,
similar.
what are we reviewing? I don't actually have any opinions.
I'm just here for the fun of it. I'm just here to see you guys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you too. You too.
Right, well, let's go round then and just summarise, first of all, how and when we watched these. So I watched them both at midnight as soon as they were available.
Madman.
Miles, over to you.
I was tempted because it was the first one. I thought, oh, maybe I should do it because it's like, then I'll go back and be like, oh, well, I did it for the first one. But then the closer I got, I'd been up since like 7 that day, and I was just like, I'm knackered, and I don't think I'll
yeah.
actually. I was worried that I wasn't going to enjoy them, so I was worried that I wasn't going to get into them. Enjoying them's another matter. So I just held off and watched them on broadcast instead. So what about you two? I think Pete, did you watch them at midnight?
I watched. Yeah, I watched them both at midnight.
Both,
Well,
yeah.
not both at the same time, one after the other. And
Both
Yeah.
screens.
Yeah, so watched them both at midnight. Had a friend round, both my brothers and one of my brother's friends. There was five of us. Yeah, five of us. And then I watched it again on broadcast with my parents. Kind of half watching. I wasn't paying 100% attention, but I got the best bits. Yeah, what about you, Josh?
I didn't watch it until broadcast, and it was excruciating because I
I thought
wanted
you
to
went.
watch it at
I
midnight.
didn't watch it.
Yeah, that's the end.
Yeah,
Bye.
I've not seen any of these episodes. I'm waiting to hear what you guys think.
Sure.
Yeah, I watched it on broadcast because I made a pact with one of my friends here at uni who I live with that we were going to watch it together on BBC One before Eurovision, and it was excruciating because I had to stay off of like YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, all those things where I get like Doctor Who related content through people I follow. So that was annoying. But what I did do is when it hit midnight, I went straight onto iPlayer and I had a little title sequence of Space Babies, and I was
Ooh.
very, very happy.
Yeah,
Can I just
nice.
say, I have not even noticed this title sequence thing apart
Really?
from Josh saying it, right?
Oh,
You're a Doctor
okay,
Who
wow.
fan, Pete.
How do
So
you?
I'm just
This
happy.
is our
Can I just say,
MO.
I am just happy that they fixed it because Josh has been whining on about this for about 6 months. So
I'm
thank
with you. I'm with you,
BBC.
Josh. Josh, I am with you all the way. I will back
Thank
you
you.
on this.
Thank you.
I can see it now that
Yeah.
you've pointed it out, but I mean, I wasn't.
Yeah.
That was just washing past me. I was just like, oh,
I
David
mean,
Tennant.
it's two things basically, isn't it? It's the well, actually, three, I think. It's obviously the logo, which is now a 3D render, which looks significantly better. There's that new shot. I think probably my favorite part of it, my favorite new addition, that new shot, kind of leading into that where it shows off the planets and stuff, and instead of that slightly janky kind of zoom like that.
I quite like the
Like,
zoom.
did you like
I
it?
did quite
I
like. I
liked it
quite
as
like
Like
the
well.
zoom.
Torchwood Series 1 to 2 style kind of thing.
Yeah, but it kind of felt like it made it feel like we were actually in that environment, and there was a camera up on a rock somewhere, zooming in
okay,
to try and catch the TARDIS.
because now
The
it's
only
just like a
bit
kind of goes like a smooth
now
thing,
it's
isn't it?
just
Kind
kind of a
goes
Yeah,
into
slow
it.
it's
swoop,
kind of
which I
slow,
like, but
yeah.
I just the only thing that bugged me was the PNG graphic
Sure.
that came in. So if I could sacrifice either the zoom shot or the graphic,
Okay,
I obviously would. I'd rather this new one. But I have to say, I did miss that sort of crash zoom.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. And
Is it
that extra
Gallifrey
bit at the
that's
end, I
in the
think, isn't
titles
it?
now?
It does
Is it
look
Gallifrey?
well. It's like kind of orange planet, isn't it? I guess. I don't know.
We can say it
I
is.
did have that thought. To be honest, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. Because I guess the whole thing with like sparks on the TARDIS in the title sequence, that's meant to have a bigger significance, isn't it? So
Yeah.
who knows what they're hiding in there? It'd be quite neat if they were, but I don't know.
There is still one issue with the title sequence, I have to say. As much as
Oh, not another 6 months of
I am
this.
glad that they've updated the logo.
Is it the thing, the syncing thing?
It's out of sync.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about
the
this.
theme, where the TARDIS is meant to move in time to it, and in Space Babies, the theme starts too late. So when you see that first shot of Ruby from the back of her head, you still have the title sequence, the theme playing. It's like in Face the Raven. It's a bit weird. But,
yeah, I've heard people say this. I haven't kind of gone back to check myself, but and so
I did
Devil's
think that
Chord, is it okay or not? Is it?
Devil's Chord, it's better, but the Devil's Chord
It's
has
still
a
out
different version
slightly.
of the theme because it loops onto
Sure.
the jukebox. So
Yes.
I guess the first time, and it obviously doesn't start the same. So I guess Boom will be
Yeah.
the first time we see if they fixed it proproperly.
Motor Truth,
But they did
okay.
fix what they did fix, which I was happy with, was that for the 60th specials, they had the title of the episode coming on the ooey-oos. And to me, the ooey-oo bit should be when the logo hits the screen. That's the big moment when it's like da da da. But they kind of fixed. I think they fixed at least
Yeah.
that this time
I
round,
see.
even though they kind of did that weird loopy thing afterwards.
I didn't mind that. I know they
Really?
set the themes up, but I quite liked it because
Wow.
it was like, oh yeah, now it's a Starbeast, now it's Marvel Yonder, now it's the Giggle.
Wow.
I kind of
Okay.
liked that. I didn't mind it. It was mainly the PNG, which is fixed, so I'm glad at least that that's done.
I think that at the end of the day, that's the main thing, isn't it? You know, as long as the title looks nice, then yeah.
Yes. Anyway,
God, wait, how many minutes in? We've only just talked about the titles.
I know. Yeah. The end. Goodbye. So no, the rest of it then. The 2 episodes that we got. Space Babies. Okay, where to begin with this? I suppose maybe just overall thought from everyone. Maybe. I don't
Should we
know.
start
Where should we
by
go?
saying which one of the 2 we preferred? Or is that
shout.
a waste of
Yeah.
time?
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that.
Go
Because
on,
I think
Pete.
I preferred, on first watch, I preferred Devil's Chord. And then on rewatch, I preferred Space Babies. I think.
Okay.
interesting.
But they're both about the same. I think they both have a lot of good stuff and cool stuff going on. But they have a lot of, well, they have a few things that kind of get on my nerves a little bit. But nothing too bad. No Praxius.
The Whittaker back. We're only 5 minutes in. The Whittaker bashing has already started.
You just can't help yourself, can you?
Just can't help himself.
Hey, I like Jodie. She's a lovely person. There's me and Richard now.
Oh,
true.
you
Yes,
guys are
that is
so
true.
lucky. So lucky.
Very true. I think I'd probably say that I vibed more with the Devil's Chord, aside from the ending,
That was more in tune.
kind of thing.
Your
More in
thoughts?
tune. Very good. Yeah.
Gonna be a lot of those.
Yeah.
A lot
yeah.
of those.
Oh, good. I look forward to it. And then, so Miles, I think you also liked Devil's Chord.
Yes, no, Devil's
Yes.
Chord was the one for me. I think Space Babies left me feeling a bit cold because I think I was expecting more, and I think I'd placed a bit more expectation on it. So
I don't think
yeah,
it was
no,
a good opener. I think
I don't
was the
think so
biggest
either.
issue for me. Is
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
think if it was like a long game or something, like the middle of the series, it'd be kind of quite cool. But I think as an opener, I think I don't know. I guess as Doctor Who fans are always thinking, oh, what are they thinking in America? What are they thinking at Disney? And
Yeah.
it wouldn't grab me if it was my first episode. I wouldn't have kept watching it. I don't think.
Mhm.
But that's not to say it's bad. Just not as not good enough.
I
to grab me.
preferred the Devil's Chord as well. However, I did like Space Babies as well on rewatch. I've only seen them both twice, um, but I did appreciate it as well on
Mhm.
rewatch, like yourself, Pete.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think a lot of people preferred Devil's Chord. Am I right? I think general
Yeah,
consensus was
I
that
think
Yeah.
so.
that was the more liked of the
I
two.
think so.
Because I guess
Yeah,
Space
I
Babies
suppose.
had a job to do as well as be an episode.
Mhm.
It was a season opener as well as just an episode. So there's more pressure
Mhm.
when you're in that position. And I think I've been hearing a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that David's just fallen on the floor." I think a lot of people were saying that, "Oh, well, the first episode's always a bit of fluff, a bit of it doesn't have to be an amazing episode." And I think, well, if we're saying that, then what kind of standards are we setting for the show?
Mm.
He says like
Yeah,
some
true.
gatekeeper, but like I think it's not unreasonable to expect like a really good opening, a strong opening to the series. Um, so yeah, I don't think that defense particularly right sits well with me. I don't know about you guys. I'm gonna pick David up off the floor while we talk.
Yeah. Um,
What's everyone's kind of, don't really want to derail this review too much, but what's everyone's favorite opener compared to, like, how would you compare it to other openers?
Mm.
I thought
That's
about
makes
this
sense.
today actually. I think it's
Oh,
on par
okay.
with Bells of St. John.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
Is
okay.
that bad? I don't know if that's bad or what that says,
I
but
quite like
yeah.
the Bells of St. John.
But it's like it's fine if
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah.
yeah.
I'd agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, because I was thinking about this as well, and you find yourself kind of comparing it, don't you? It's like other like Doctor debuts or the first few episodes for each Doctor. That's outside. I don't know what's going
Is that
on
Mel
there.
again? Is she riding that motorbike past your house again?
Goodness me.
And again. Just
Yeah.
doing lap the lap.
You finished? Right. Yeah, for goodness sake. Yeah, I think in terms of, because obviously we'll probably get onto this a little bit as well, but it's a very weird situation, isn't it? Because we've had the Christmas special, which was the start of the era, but then before that you had the Giggle, which was sort of the start of the 15th Doctor, and also this is a start as well because it's the start of the season and
Before that,
stuff.
you had the Star Beast.
Mm.
Exactly, there's kind of so
Yeah.
many that's been staggered in different ways, hasn't it? I think personally speaking, the kind of I didn't feel the opening. Like just taking these two episodes, comparing them to like other first two episodes, like Woman Who Fell to Earth, and I know people don't particularly like Ghost Monument that much, but I vibed with those two more than this. I think I vibed more with like Deep Breath Into the Dalek than these. Obviously, our 11th Hour is great anyway, and yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of hard to judge. It's early days, but yeah, I think pretty much every other one we've had so far in New Who, maybe. I don't know. Um, who
I think
else?
it's a good thing you mentioned the context there, Richard,
Mm,
of where this comes in relation to the rest of the episodes we've had in this new era, because I think there's been a bit of a cock up in terms of the communication to the audience on where the jumping on point actually is. Do you jump
Yeah.
on
mm,
at the Star Beast? Do you jump on Charles Ruby Road? Or is episode one of season one, Space Babies, where you start watching Doctor Who for the first time? I
See,
think it originally this was meant to go out in January, wasn't it? According to Russell, and then they had to delay it for like special effects to
So
have
this
more
was
time
sure.
to.
this was more an episode two. This was like an end of the world,
Yeah,
Beast
Mm,
Below
definitely,
kind of thing. And well,
definitely.
now,
it was a
now that you
Beast
said
Below in a
that,
lot of respects.
that makes sense. Now that you said that, because I was thinking it would have made more sense if Ncuti had been on his own for Christmas and then introduced a companion at the start of the series.
Mhm.
And technically, they would have both
yeah.
worked as a standalone, wouldn't they?
Mm. Well, it's like kind of New Earth type thing as well, isn't it? That's the only other time we've had a
That's true.
Doctor
Yeah.
introduced at Christmas, and then you have the second kind of start jumping on point, whatever, for the season.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've been saying this in other videos, but I'm not sure how much I like that as a concept of having the introducing them at Christmas special and then a gap and then the season and stuff. And like Josh was saying, we've had so many different staggered points, even going back to the Star Beast, if you kind of view it in that way. It's a difficult one because, I mean, contextually as well, all that said, all that aside, this is, like you can see why they did it. You can see why they introduced Ncuti for the first time in the 60th, and why it was all kind of overlapping slightly and dovetailing, and so I'm not necessarily complaining about the way it was done, but yeah, I don't know. It just feels like a slightly strange way to kind of start off an era.
A new era.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think something I've noticed about the 15th Doctor's era so far is that it's quite light on plot generally. If you look at the Church and Ruby
Devil's
Road,
Chord in particular. Oh yeah,
Devil's Chord, yeah, and Space
Church and Ruby Road
Babies,
as well.
it's
Yeah.
got less of a plot-driven hook, but it thrives on the emotional hook of the characters and the relationship between the Doctor and Ruby, which I think is so good. I think those two are brilliant together. Can I just say right off the bat, they are so fantastic. They are within 3 episodes now, easily climbing their way to like the top of my Doctor companion pairing in my head. I think they're so good together. But yeah, there's definitely more of an emotional hook in terms of this being a jumping on point for new viewers. Space Babies, in the way that it's set up, yeah, you've got great friendship with your lead characters. That is fun, so fun to watch and enjoyable to watch. And then you've got a monster that is very sort of overtly scary. You've got the babies who are very, very cute. It's enticing the viewer that way by tapping into their emotions and rather than the plot, which is quite light. But I don't know. I think that as a jumping on point, whether it works or not, is an interesting question because I would say the Church and Ruby Road, I don't think would have been the best opener to um, someone who's never seen Doctor Who before. I've always maintained that I think the 11th Hour is probably the best one. But with Space Babies, it was the start of a new era, season 1, episode 1. And so I showed my girlfriend Space Babies, who'd never seen Doctor Who for the first time. And they really enjoyed it.
Right.
They really liked it because they loved Ncuti and Millie together. I was asking them questions throughout, like, is the opening monologue with the Doctor talking about the Time War and all of that, and Gallifrey being gone too much? And they're like, no, you just get what you need about the character, and then it's all full steam ahead. The stuff with prehistoric Earth at the beginning was fun, and they said it was like, oh, so this is what the show can do. You can go anywhere, and that comes across quickly. And it also reinforces something that I said when we did our review of Church and Ruby Road, which is the whole repercussions of time travel thing. Stepping on a butterfly that changes history. So I think that is definitely a motif that's going to crop up. It's in the trailer as well. Like when you change time, anything can happen. Well, one thing that they did say though that I thought was interesting, seeing as this is their first episode of Doctor Who ever, the Space Babies, they thought they were going to turn out to be evil, even though they look cute, which is of course the plot of Star Beast with the meat.
Yeah, of
there.
course.
Hey.
Yes,
That was quite
yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
That they thought that. But yeah, as an introductory episode for Doctor Who, which is what this is designed for, it's designed to get new viewers internationally and people elsewhere who haven't seen the show before. And as far as that goes, it seems to work. And we might find it subpar because it's stuff we've already seen before and retreading old ground. But if it gets new people into the show, then it's done its job, I guess.
I definitely felt that. I felt like this is almost, it's almost like not an episode for us as fans, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very clearly aimed at the new viewer, or even just the viewer who's not watched it since Tennant or Smith, by just reminding them these things. Like I'm messaging some people from uni who like the show but haven't really paid a massive amount of attention to it in recent years, but they were messaging me as they were watching it and sort of saying, there's a lot of reminding us what the TARDIS does, a lot of, like you were saying about the Doctor just basically trauma dumping and through that info dumping on what's been going on. And they didn't say whether they liked or disliked it. They just said it's interesting how that's being done, and people could clearly tell that was the case. So yeah, it does seem like you're right, Josh, that it's not. It's almost like it's inevitable that we wouldn't have enjoyed it that much because it's not really aimed at us.
Mm.
So perhaps it will work. Perhaps it will work. Yeah, who knows? I mean, are we?
I think it's definitely getting people in the general audience more interested in it
Yeah,
because I've had a few people at work come up to me and say they've watched
they've
it.
watched it.
Yeah,
Interesting. I mean, are we? Do we get worried unnecessarily as Doctor Who fans? Should we just, enjoy it for what it is
yeah.
and not
Definitely.
care?
Doctor Who fans worry about logos and opening titles and stuff. They're known for worrying about stuff that don't
They
matter.
were about peer genes and all
Yeah.
sorts. But it's just so strange how we kind of have that feeling inside of us of like, I mean, I didn't mind it, but what's everyone else going to think? It's almost like
Yeah.
you need that validation.
Hmm.
And I don't,
And I think you're also trying to compare it to, sorry, Miles, you're always trying to
no,
compare
no,
it
no.
to like Doctor Who, how it was when you were a kid and
Yeah.
what you think about if a new kid's watching this now, what are they thinking and how does it compare? And
Well, talking of
it's
comparing, there's the exact scene from End of the World in here when Ruby gets her phone souped up, and someone
yeah,
shared those on Twitter, the comparison. And I mean, as two scenes, I much prefer End of the World because I think someone sort of said that's being done for Rose as a character, whereas Ruby's scene is being done for the audience to kind of
yeah,
explain things. And I think that Russell's character-driven stuff like in that era was so well done, and it feels like we've not really had any of that so much yet. We've had a lot of twists, a lot of twists. We've had a lot of
There's always a twist at the
there's
end.
always a twist at the end. We've had a lot of big moments, um, a lot of intrigue, but we haven't had, I feel, those kind of intimate character moments that really made Russell's first era a thing. And but then, like you say, is that just because we're comparing it to what we know as Doctor Who, what got us into the show? Um, it's a tricky one being a fan and trying to kind of judge it on
navigate
that,
that.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say it does. I think it does have those character moments. I think that Ruby and the Doctor get on really well. There's not really any sort of bickering between them. There's not a strain on their relationship, which you could say dilutes it a bit. But I think that they're still well-rounded characters. I said in Ruby Road that I thought that we saw a lot of Ruby, and I understand her as a character, and I get it. And in Space Babies, you see a sort of mini arc for Ncuti in that he decides to save the bogeyman at the end because he realizes it's one of his kind, just like him. Only one left. I'm the Doctor. I save people. I'm going to do it. So I think within these first two episodes, you do see the characters go on a journey and they're well-rounded. Just because it's done in a different way doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing.
totally. And again, that's that kind of thing of like we're just comparing it to what we know before, and just because
Mm.
it's not exactly the same does not mean that therefore it's a bad thing. And so I agree. I think that taking a step back and realizing that will allow
Mm.
you to enjoy it a lot more. Like I enjoyed Space Babies more the second time around because I didn't have all them preconceptions and all them worries. So yeah,
Yeah.
um, I agree with you there. Yeah,
I
I
think
think
there is
also.
also. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, I think also it's like we all get different things out of Doctor Who, but like for me, it's never gonna be Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper again. So as long as I've watched new episodes for 45 minutes and thought, you know what, that was good fun. That's all I want to get out of it. I'm not looking for the
Sure.
next Chris Eccleston. And I think it's
Yeah.
just managing expectations and going into it thinking it's not going to be for me, but if there's a 4-year-old out there that this is their first episode, then amazing.
Hmm.
But also to say that it's, I'm not saying it's not for me. I'm still enjoying it, still getting a lot out of it. Sorry,
Yeah.
Josh.
I was going to say, I think that there is also a feeling, if you are a fan of Doctor Who, with this episode, that there is a bit of retreading of old ground. You said already about the scene with the phone call with Ruby and Carla, like in the end of the world. But there are other moments that reminded me of RTD1 episodes. The scene at the end where the Doctor saves the bogeyman and has to push the button reminded me of 42 when he goes out in a spacesuit and has to pull the lever to bring the escape pod with Martha back. It seems straight out of that. So I feel like these are things we have seen in Doctor Who before. We've seen the Doctor and the companion running down corridors from scary monsters before. But as you say, your favorite eras of the show, they're still going to be there. like Chris Eccleston, Billy Piper's Doctor Who, Capaldi and Jenna Coleman, Jodie Whittaker's era, even Big Finishes, if that's what your favorite era is, they're always going to be there. So, you know, you don't have to worry about that. That's always going to be there. And new stuff is always fun and what the show thrives on.
Speaking of Big Finish, she's very Lucy Miller, Ruby.
Definitely. I felt that, especially in Millie Gibson, I think is really good in her like facial expressions,
Yeah.
To the Doctor and things going on around her. I think she's very, very good and almost not Donna-esque, but in that similar vein of like a quite a comedic companion, but not so far that it seems like, oh, Ruby is a comic relief character. She is a character in her own right, but she has comic moments.
She's just very
I think
real.
For me,
yeah.
I was going to say, I think for me, she's still the weak link.
Okay.
Because
you weren't a fan of her last time in Church of Ruby Road, were you?
No, I still struggle with her a bit. She feels very, very Moffat-y as a companion. She doesn't feel real. She doesn't feel like someone I could bump into in the street or see at work. And it's, I don't know. There's something about her that doesn't quite click. But I'm hoping that the more I see of her, the more I'll get used to her. I think I definitely prefer her in these 2 episodes than the Christmas Day one.
I don't know. I think there's little moments in there which make me think that she's real. Like you were saying about the facial expressions, I think that she kind of has little bits like that. And I think one of the parts of their dynamic, the 2 of them that I really like, is that it's like 2 people who've met each other on a night out and they don't care that they've only just met. In that moment, who cares? Just love life and enjoy being along for the ride. So the sort of the problem that I think some people had of them being so close so quickly, and you see it in that light, you know, that she's and that's kind of Ruby's character. She does things first and then sort of thinks about it later. So I think it works for her, and it's an interesting new take on the Doctor companion dynamic. But I can understand the Moffat companion comparisons too. I think a lot of people have been comparing her to Clara, haven't they?
Yeah, she's very Clara. But I think just going back to what you're saying about this being an introduction for like new fans, I think it's also, you got to remember that this is like what, season 15, 16, whatever we're up to now. I don't know what number we're up to, but it's not season, like that's a lot for people to catch up on. Like you can't expect them to go back and watch 20 years worth of stuff. So I think it's great they are reintroducing a lot of these concepts, like the mobile phone bit and other bits and bobs.
So let's turn our attention more to The Devil's Chord then. I suppose we've kind of talked a bit already about Space Baby. I suppose we'll still probably flip between a bit, but so 3 out of 4 of us enjoyed this one more
like The Devil's Board.
Ooh.
Oh,
joking. It was all right.
So with this,
just carry on.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to end up talking about the twist at the end at some point. Like I said at the beginning, I think up until that point, with the exception of a few bits maybe in the middle, I was vibing with it quite a bit. It was kind of, I like that sort of giggle style thing. Like right from the off, when we open up with that bit with the piano lesson, and it's this whole thing of like something coming into this world in 1925 again, and it's kind of laying down all this lore and introducing this new character and setting the scene kind of thing. But I think for me, the song, do we just talk about it now? I don't know. I mean, I have to say it's been stuck in my head ever since, for better or for worse.
Catchy.
And they've just, before we started recording, they've officially released the lyrics to it on the website or something. I got a notification. I don't think they've released a music, like a YouTube clip of it yet, which I'm surprised by. I thought they'd do that as well to kind of properly like.
Are they not doing an album of it?
Are they?
With loads of different songs on? Because I swear I saw an interview with Millie, and she said there's an album or something coming out at some point.
Oh my god! Okay.
with other hits,
such
as the Goblin song.
And I've got a dog. He's called Fred. I can go on there as well.
And whatever Scylla was singing.
Well, yeah. I did like.
I do think it would have been
those.
It would have been such a great gag if they listened to Scylla singing, and then the Doctor went, "Oh, thank God they not got to Scylla."
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
I think the actual song the song itself, I don't think is the issue because I've seen a lot of people say that the idea of having a song in Doctor Who is like the worst thing ever, and
Yeah.
bring back Colin Baker or whatever people are saying. But I don't think it's bad having a song in it. I just think, unfortunately, I just don't think the lyrics are very good. Personally, I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
agree or disagree.
I would agree.
Unless they've got a meaning to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
But I
since you're
think-
meant to be celebrating music being brought back into the world, and that's what you use to celebrate it.
Yes.
That was, I mean, I suppose because I was thinking about it before. On some levels, it's quite clever because Twist and Shout was the last song on the Beatles' first album, wasn't it? So Twist at the end, Twist at the end of the
Correct,
album.
yes.
And,
Over to our correspondent. Yeah.
I was going to say, Miles, as a
Correspondent.
Beatles fan, how did you
You are the
find the
Beatles fan.
Beatles?
I have
in
to
it?
say, they obviously could afford the rights to California Soul, and I'm sure that is very cheap in comparison to a Beatles song. But I would have dedicated a lot of the budget to just getting Twist and Shout for the end. All right, it's nice having an original song, but Twist and Shout, you've still got the twist. It's the Beatles.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's all there for you, you know. But
There was a bit-
unless the song has a meaning because of these weird lyrics, Land's
Yeah.
End. Help me out, Richard. What else is in there?
I mean, there was one bit actually where they mentioned the word Lindy, I think, and there's a character called Lindy Pepperbean coming up. I mean, that's a whole other thing. We'll get to her in a few weeks. But so I saw people say that. I don't know really. Land's End, Make Do and Mend.
Northwest.
Smart
isn't
Girls
it?
from the Northwest. Yeah. We Ain't No Fools from Liverpool. You see, it's all kind of got stuck in. I haven't. Well, I've kind of gone back to watch that bit since. I haven't watched the episode since in full. But yeah, even so, for better or for worse, it gets in there. Like with the Goblin song, which the first time I heard that, I was kind of like, what the hell is this? And then, But I suppose it's interesting to think about this as well, like the progression, because obviously, I suppose the earliest thing we had in this era, we had the Spice Up Your Life thing, which was an existing song. Then we went from that to a song like where the Toymaker was someone dancing to the song, to the characters actually singing it with the Goblin song, and now I've forgotten what the progression was for this one. I've forgotten what I was going to say, but it's kind of each time we're kind of pushing it a bit more on. Well, yeah, I guess what I was going to say for this one is it's just like, yeah, you kind of go from a song with a bit of a plot reason to a song just for the sake of it. Or it's kind of they're pushing the boundaries of, I guess, what they can get away with each time. I do wish it had been integrated a bit better into the plot and stuff. And I wanted to hear, like, I don't know why, but we didn't really hear Ncuti's voice in it. We hear Millie when she's with Scylla and stuff, but like, it's quite comical how we open up with that shot of him where he's got the spotlight on him, and then all the lights start and everything, and the music starts, and we're just like immediately into like a kind of chorus thing, like with loads of people singing. Like, I wanted him to do a little intro to it, like a little solo. A little solo, yeah.
Well, it felt like maybe that had been cut or something, because it did hit you in the face. You were like, whoa, that was
really did,
I've already the pacing of Space Babies was like rocket speed. Like, I was getting whiplash at every scene. So to have then Devil's Cause grab me at the end of it and punch me in the face with the song that just came in very quickly, and it also felt like a reprise as well. It didn't feel like it didn't feel like it was that
reminds me of something as well, actually. Yeah, because as I've said in other videos, I think, and as I'm sure, I suppose everyone would agree with me here, like, and like people saying, like, I'm not against the idea of having a musical number in Doctor Who, even a musical episode. Like, okay, try it, go for it. This wasn't that, and I think if it was like a melody or something they'd established early on, because that's always what I find with musicals and stuff that works, is if like you have an opening number or something where you have like all the themes that you're then going to hear later on as like their own pieces and stuff. It's that kind of thing that you need in order for it to
did you
be
notice
effective,
that one of the lines used the same notes as the giggle?
In
there was a bit when
twist at the end.
There was always a twist at the end. Ha 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 ha. And it went in key with that. So there you go.
Okay.
I didn't notice that.
I don't think anyone believes me, but I swear.
Okay.
Honestly, it's a bit when
maybe the giggle just hasn't left your head, Miles. Maybe
I mean, it hasn't.
To quote Mel, it's just a simple arpeggio, isn't it? or is it like
It
a
is just a
specific?
simple arpeggio.
Was it a
Thanks, Bonnie
specific-
Langford. Yes, it is. I suppose so. Well, I'll allow my theory that the giggle is
Yeah.
still lingering.
Do you
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like it was a little bit like, I don't know if you ever used to watch it as a kid, but Horrible Histories when they used to have songs in it.
Yeah,
Felt a little bit
very.
like that. Not a lot of
Yeah.
budget. Well, I don't know. There was definitely a budget with the dancing, but the song didn't feel like it had a lot of stuff put towards. I don't know.
It did
Would that be
feel like
fair
there was
or
something missing in the mix. Like
yeah?
it felt quite. Yeah, you're right. I think the choreography amazing, the look fantastic, but just the way that the song was mixed compared to something like the Goblin song, which kind of had a real depth to it. It felt
Yeah.
a bit too prototype, a bit too test theme almost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
Get any
almost
more
the kind of
songs
temp
later in
track
the
or
series?
something,
better.
Yeah, like the temp track. Yeah, it felt more like that. Watch Murray watch the
Yeah.
episode go out and go, oh God, they used the wrong one.
Yeah, Peter, you're just saying about more songs. Do we think there are going to be more songs later on? But this series, this season,
Because
whatever.
I think they'd be silly not to have one in Rogue if they've got
In
Jonathan
Rogue.
Groff.
Jonathan Groff. I was just gonna say, yeah.
Hamilton.
I should tell you what. I'll lay this down. This prediction. So the guy from Unleashed, the choreographer guy, he's clearly going to be back for that. I think dancing, maybe more so than singing or more so than music, dancing will be a big plot point in that. Like, I can imagine it being like a thing where it's like the big ballroom and I don't know, something like the Doctor and Ruby have to like get from one end of the room to another, and they have to like kind of move between the dancers or something like that, where it's this massive kind of set piece where there's lots of kind of pieces on the board, something like I don't know. I get
Well,
the
talking of
sense.
songs, did we not think there was going to be more in the Devil's Chord? There was a moment when Jinx started
Yeah.
singing about
About her
Daddy,
daddy,
and I was like, "Oh, here
Yeah.
we go. We're
Daddy,
starting the
yeah.
musical now. Cool." And then it
Yeah.
just stopped, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
I also
one of
think
the
it should have
reviews-
been
Oh,
it
sorry.
should have been the song that defeated it.
That's exactly
Maestro,
as we
rather
got
than-
closer to it because we knew it was going to happen because of the trailer, right? And as it got closer, I was like, I
Yes.
see. So they're going to bring music back into the world
Yeah.
with a song, the Doctor and Ruby reintroducing music in such a bold, impressive way. And I thought the Abbey, the Studio One's their battle to save the world that Russell kept going on about. Like, I
Yeah.
thought, the battle is the song and the dance number that's going to defeat Jinx, the Maestro.
that we've seen in the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just happened,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh,
Sorry,
what were you
Josh.
going to say?
I was gonna say, one of the reviews before the episode came out, I think, compared it to the Buffy episode "Once More with Feeling," which is like a musical.
A
throughout.
musical.
And so yeah, I think a lot of people were expecting more music. I was gonna say as well in terms of future songs later in the season.
Boom.
Do we think that the Maestro is going to come back in the
Oh,
finale?
okay.
It was the same block as Rogue, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Richard, you don't sound convinced.
Sorry, I was just thinking. Yeah, it was the same block. Yeah. I don't know, but potentially. I guess it's whether they want to have more different gods. But I'm struggling to think actually what they're going to be gods of. Like music's quite an obvious one. Toy or toys, games, play, whatever. That's quite an obvious thing with the toy maker.
Christmas
Dancing. Christmas.
Mm,
Yeah, maybe.
is Ruby, the spirit of Christmas.
Maybe something to do with weather. If we've got all this stuff with snow and sand and
Is she a weather girl?
the
Yeah.
elements, the weather girl.
The weather girl
Yeah.
will knock 4 times.
Yeah. On a similar note, actually, like
fire, water, earth.
yeah,
Come
but we haven't had any other like guest stars announced who kind of you immediately think, oh yeah, they are one of this pantheon or whatever. And I guess because season 2 is finished now, I think Russell said finished filming, and Russell has said, oh, there's like at least 3 more to come. Yeah, I wonder who they're going to be, who they're going to be played by, whether it's people.
Is Jonathan Groff a villain?
You see,
Rogue.
there's
Or is
something about
he-
there's
Name's
something
Rogue, isn't it?
mysterious about so I suppose he could be one of them, and it would fit the bill with having another kind of American star.
What about Sian Phillips in 73? Is it 73 yards she's in?
Enid Meadows, yeah, a kind of wise woman apparently. Like, yeah.
I don't know. Sian Phillips is, amazing Shakespearean level actor. Who knows
Yes.
whether
Because we've got
she
a few
might.
of these old women about, haven't we? Like or older
Yeah.
women, like Mrs. Flood. She could be one, I guess, and Susan
Twist.
maybe, and the one who waits. And I suppose there are contenders there, but Yeah, it'll be interesting because we've had that template laid down with Jinx and with Neil Patrick Harris. It'll be interesting to see, I suppose, whether they deviate from that style of character or whether there are some kind of more dark horse gods, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. More subdued almost. Yeah.
I think what's notable about this episode as well, and the way that the maestro is used, is that it's quite similar to the Giggle in the way that it's set up, in that the Doctor and Ruby arrive where the maestro is sort of already won. They've already taken over the world and stolen music from people.
Yeah, very true.
So even though they've got this plan to expand and steal the music of the spheres, they've come in like halfway through where the maestro already has a lot of power and a lot of hold over the story. And so I think that it really added an awful lot of weight to it, especially coming after Space Babies back to back. Like tonally, you see Ncuti, especially going to some great like emotional depths in that scene where he's talking about the toy maker and the bi-generation, which apparently halved his soul, which we didn't know before. So will he need to is 14 coming back at some point to recombine in a sort of Watcher form?
He drowned in Venice, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
isn't that what
course.
Russell said?
Yeah.
That's how David Tennant always wanted to go.
He's never been so happy in his life.
No. He said he was drowning beneath the waves.
Do you think that because I wonder whether they would put the two episodes on together because they felt like the first one was quite weak. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I also wondered whether they realised that the second one could go out before Eurovision, and that's music themed, so they thought, oh, we'll put that before Eurovision.
I think it was very deliberately.
Yeah.
And I think that the choice to do the second episode with that in that double episode season premiere kind of proved that first episode wasn't for us, because episode 1 is, like we were saying, it's more kind of aimed at those who haven't seen the show before or are coming back to it, whereas it kind of would have felt like, oh, was that it? And then we'd have to wait another week. Whereas I think we've got a bit more oomph because we've had Devil's Cause as well.
Yeah.
I think we would have a very different feeling if it was just Space Babies that we'd watched over the weekend.
If we'd just seen Space Babies, I feel like a lot of us would have come out of it quite underwhelmed. But interestingly, I imagine that this double bill was quite a late decision, because if you watch Unleashed, then he says, "Oh, here's a clip of next week's episode." That's not a Welsh accent.
I didn't know Stephen Powell was Scottish. Wow.
Cut that out right now. But he says, "Oh, because that was cool." So I imagine that was made quite a late decision to put it on at the same time.
I
also thought it was a bit bizarre that there's one point where she says she's from June, July this year, whatever. I thought that is bizarre, because you could have done it so that one word she wasn't faced. The camera was on Ncuti for that one word, and they could have recorded her doing May, June, July, August. That was weird that they kept it in.
I even saw speculation because of the whole January thing, and you can't really tell because they're so small in the shot, but I saw speculation about whether it was originally recorded differently and they dubbed it afterwards. So
it's a very odd thing, because
whether
it
was meant to be
January
2024.
Yeah,
and even that feels a little bit odd because she just left, and obviously I suppose the implication is that there are adventures in between. She left on like Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, hadn't she? And they'd been back, I suppose, to December. I suppose, but then because the series would be airing in 2024, they wanted to mention 24 rather than 23, and it's one of those things. But yeah, the way it was executed in the end definitely felt strange.
What does everybody think about June Hudson and that scene?
I thought her death was going to be much more visceral, because Russell mentioned was it Doctor Who magazine? He was like, "Oh, and the scene of her death, it is tragic. It is awful. It's probably the most graphic one we've ever done." And it happened, and Jinx shuts the curtains, and I was like, "Well, we were promised."
Looks directly at the camera.
And now has a little wink as well. They're always winking, these fourth wall breakers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Always winking at the camera. There's always a wink at the end. There's always all sorts at the end.
I think there is a danger. As
Susan
much
Wink.
as Russell is a great publicity machine in the way that he talks for the show, there is a danger of talking about stuff that is yet to be edited and finalized that doesn't appear. He says in the Imagine documentary about there's being a big scene in episode 1 with Ncuti in a jukebox, which has been cut.
I've seen Richard. Richard, did you work out what the song could have been?
Well, I thought I saw some other people mention it. I haven't heard the song. I mean, as viewers will know, didn't even know Spice Up Your Life before that was in Doctor Who. So my musical knowledge is selective. But yeah, I believe Push the Button by the Sugar Babes was mentioned.
Been so good as well. And so like it matches the tone bang on, right? And then it matches that line that he has later when he says, but he says push the button again, right?
Yeah, and
it feels like, did I miss a line? You know?
I actually, when I heard him say that, and I had no context to any of what Richard's just said, but when I heard him say that line of push the button again, the first thing that came to my head was the song. So you do kind of think, is that a reference to the song? But then if it is, then it's a bit random that you just put that in there.
And also, again, is that's a choice of words, as in we're referring back to an earlier bit in this.
Yeah,
that's what again means, Miles. Yeah, it just did feel like there was something missing. Do you think Space Babies was meant to be 50 minutes?
Probably.
Yeah.
It feels like stuff's been cut.
A lot. Yeah. It felt very, very condensed.
Apparently, there was quite a lot. There was quite a lot cut from Devil's Chord, according to an insider that I know. So that one apparently had a lot cut from it.
He and his insiders.
But what was cut, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can understand that as well, because Cilla Black, the woman who played her, tweeted and she said, "Oh, Cilla was a victim of the cutting room floor. So clearly she must have had some actual dialogue as well as her song," which is quite a shame. You know, again, quite a shame that we missed some of that. I imagine some of the Beatles stuff was cut as well. And I know probably it was done for the right reasons because we need to keep the story moving. But it did make me think, you know, we had these lads on the front of Doctor Who magazine, and I knew this was going to happen. I knew that they would never be a massive part of the episode. But it was like we had all of that hype, we had that massive interview with all of them, you know, and I don't think Ringo even says a word.
Oh, the Beatles were in it.
Exactly. I know, right? George Martin, the guy who played George Martin, pitch perfect. So good. Same with John as well. I thought Chris May, I think his name is. He said, you know, "Oh, I don't want to do an impression. I'm doing a performance." And I was like, considering you're not doing an impression, that is really good. Like,
was he the one?
Why did he have glasses?
Was he the one with glasses? Yeah.
I think they worked though, because it just gave that. I mean, I know he didn't wear glasses at that time, but it just gave it that little bit more of a kind of, this is John. You know,
I do want to say about that guy as well. Have people watched Broadshow Series 3 on this call?
Yes.
Yeah.
Worst of the 3 series.
Oh,
maybe I won't.
That's a separate round table for another day. Oh, I don't want to spoil it, but he was in that series.
Okay.
Oh, was he that lad? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Which kind of blew my mind when I learned that. Yeah, because I suppose everybody in that series was, all the men were, but like, because obviously there was that chap as well who'd been in Flux, and then he was that. So I learned that. I think I read it in the Doctor Who magazine with the cover, and then I closed the magazine again, looked at the cover, and I was like, I'm never going to be able to see you in the same way again. But there we go. No, I was just looking. I remembered that in some of these SFX magazines that I've been pumping out loads of recently, including a new issue at the moment. By the time this goes out,
another one.
Not another one. There's always an SFX magazine at the end. I remembered they'd listed a few of the songs on the jukebox at the time, but that one we mentioned isn't in there. We've got oh my god, okay.
We've got Scoop here. We've got Scoop.
Some of the songs listed on the jukebox include John Smith and the Common Men's Twist at the End.
Oh.
That's not a real song, surely.
Is that the one we've just heard?
I know it's called, the one we've got is there's always a twist at the end, but Why is it credited to John Smith and the Common Men?
Well,
Is that
John
just
Smith and
their-
the Common Men is
The Doctor.
and
Maybe
Doctor
those
and-
have a.
Yeah.
Is that what they're referring to? I don't know.
in an
but
Earthly
it's
Child.
but was the Common, were they an actual band, or was it just
No.
a name dubbed over for the one that Susan was listening to?
Well, did you
was
see the
just-
reference to them
I
in the
think it was
episode
made
as
up.
well?
Oh, on
didn't.
the billboard.
Billboard is Chris Waits, and Chris
Yeah.
Waits was the lead man in the John Smith and the Common Men.
So
So
it was
that's
a
an
real
Easter egg.
band. It was a real
No.
band.
I think it was
What?
fiction. Wasn't it? Yeah, I think
I'm so confused. I'm so confused.
So maybe is the song that is the twist at the end song meant to be by them? Maybe we've got a scoop here. I don't know. We've got Soft Cells,
There's always a
Tainted
scoop at the
Love,
end.
Britney Spears, Toxic, Rogue Traders, Voodoo Child, tracks by Rick Astley, The Spice Girls, obviously David Bowie.
But they're
There's
all songs
also-
that we've heard in the show before, right?
Yeah, and that one that was heard in the TV movie. I don't know.
I haven't heard Bowie before. What was the Bowie song?
That was
trailer, I
Aliens
guess.
London.
It doesn't specify.
Oh, in
Doesn't
Aliens London,
specify.
it was Starman, wasn't it?
yeah.
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 Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which I hear more and more now when I watch the episode, because probably we've got better mixes and things. I can actually hear it now. I'm like, oh, there's Bowie. They could afford Bowie in 2005, but they couldn't afford the Beatles in 2024. What is going on? What world are we in?
I do think, I mean, I know the Beatles are going to grab people and they're probably the most famous musicians ever, but I think they probably should have got musicians that they could have used the music of. If there was probably one out there that's famous enough that would have grabbed people in the same or a similar way to the Beatles.
Yeah, Rolling Stones. You know, there's. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
60s. You know, it was a hive for iconic bands. The Who.
But then again, didn't Russell say that the whole stimulus for the story was
Yeah,
was
exactly.
a Beatles episode where we can't play Beatles music, so something's
It
gone
makes
wrong.
sense. It does
The
make sense.
timeline.
It's just that I was left wanting at the end for like
Yeah.
a little bit of something. But then again, they
Yeah.
weren't the focus. It was just they were the impetus for getting there.
They
And
were
once we were
dressing,
there,
set dressing.
they were set dressing. Yeah, just as Scylla was. You know, that's probably why they didn't make a big deal of Scylla Black being in it either, and probably why her scenes were cut, because that wasn't the point. It's just that I just, yeah, it just would have been nice to have a recognizable song at the end. And I think people might have looked onto it a bit more favorably as well. Because, yeah, I don't think Murray's songwriting skills are as good as they used to be. But that's just me personally, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What did everybody
I
think
was
of
swept up in the fun of it
Jinx?
all. So.
Of Jinx.
Yeah.
I loved
I think for
I
the
loved
most
Maestro.
part, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Because I wasn't really a fan. I just felt
Okay.
it was a little bit over the top. I know that's kind of the point of it, but I don't know.
like all the way
The
through.
child of
'cause-
a toy maker,
Yeah.
though, because I think because of that link to Neil Patrick Harris, who was a little bit more understated but still very theatrical. I mean, how can I say understated when that's a scene of him on a giant cannon doing a German accent? Like it's very like that kind of connections there, and right up to the end when Jinx is in that toy maker Sergeant
Similar
Pepper kind of
outfit,
costume,
yeah.
but it's the kind of
Yeah.
the similar outfit to the Spice Up Your Life one. It kind of makes me go like, yeah, I think that's a really clever link, and
yeah. You can,
they're two
you can see
big
the
bold
similarities.
American performers. You know, it works. Yeah,
I will say I think
like
she
it.
probably worked best in the first outfit and first bit and the last outfit and the last bit. I think the middle bit where they're in the kind of limbo space maybe like it took you out of it a little bit more. It felt a little bit like I was watching like a bit of Cabaret or something. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I
was
could
that
sort
the
of
point, though?
see that. I suppose that's the point. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so. I guess so.
Yeah, I think
that's
maybe-
why I
I
went
think,
with
on the whole, I mean, it's a really interesting one because like I can't really think of any other era or series or where like something like that would have happened or like it feels so kind of different, but like just kind of went with it, and it's I don't know, it is a different type of performance for sure. But I think for the most part it works. It worked for me. Yeah, I think so.
I really like.
but
the
I can see why you might not have liked it. Sorry, Josh.
I was gonna say, I think that I really like the Maestro, and also this is our first sort of taste, apart from the Goblins and the Christmas special. This is our first proper taste of the show delving more into fantasy, like when the Maestro was sort of in the spoons when they were interviewing the Beatles,
Yes.
Stuff like that, which felt very, very alien. And just the way that they're so powerful that they can make meta jokes to the audience and play the Doctor Who theme on piano. I love stuff like that. And again, like I said before, the fact that the Doctor arrives when they've already like got power. It's not they're trying to stop their plan in action. They've already done their plan. They're trying to stop phase two. So I think as a villain, they worked really, really well, and they were something different that we haven't seen before. So thumbs up with the Maestro. I really like them.
Yeah, thumbs up overall for the episode. To be honest, I know that it's flawed, but I think, like you were kind of saying, Pete, it was what?
Devil's
flawed. Oh God. I think that if you go into it knowing that not knowing that it's not going to be your favorite, but kind of just kind of accepting who cares almost. I think that you do get swept up in the fun of it, and there is something about this era, the sort of Disney vibe, that I do kind of like how bold they're being with it, and it's just such a lovely era in and of itself. I mean, like our first round table was the Star Beast, and those 60th specials are so special. So I think that to carry on that kind of vibe, I'm along for the ride, but I'm ready to see something different now, and I think we're going to get that next week for sure, like 100%. Like, oh my God,
it'll be really. I've kind of seen people say it'll be not like a make or break moment, but almost like a kind of a deciding moment where it's like, okay, is this era just the stuff we've seen in the first two or whatever, like the kind of mythical, fantastical, whatever, or is there also still going to be, which looks like this is going to be the case, is going to be some of the more kind of grounded, hard sci-fi, whatever, for want of a better phrase, and yeah, obviously we've got Stephen Moffat back, haven't we? And it'll be interesting to see, going back to the far future and having this war zone, because it's all very formative, these early episodes, kind of setting the template for the rest of the season, the rest of the era. I'm intrigued to see, because at one point it was there's a feeling that everything and every monster and every story, every threat is going to be part of this pantheon and kind of explained away as this thing. And I suppose so far that's applied to the goblins, it's obviously applied to Maestro. The Bogeyman is kind of a weird one because wasn't it like created by
it's a sci-fi explanation.
It's a sci-fi explanation, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll see with the rest of them whether they all do fall into that category or whether they loosen it up a bit and still have some, like your Dalek Cybermen, like those same sort of monsters, or whether it is very much just these mythical beings. So I don't think we know what the threat or the monster is for the next one, really, or the next two.
A landmine.
Well, yeah. Do you know what? I thought this today though, because I saw Forbidden Planet have released some merchandise for each of the episodes so far. And I think they're
doing a landmine, a replica scale model.
They're doing a monster collection of like badges and T-shirts and things. So obviously, your badge for the first one is the Bogeyman, great green gunky monster. Badge for the second one is obviously it's Jinx, Maestro. I'm kind of thinking, what is the one for Boom going to be? Is it going to be like you say, the landmine, or there's been talk about creatures in fog? I think so. Yeah, like how are they going to pull that off for episodes that
the Wirren
have?
Oh, not this again, Miles.
They will come back. They will.
Oh my God!
You know who Josh's favourite monster is? It's the PNG monster.
It's just the PNG logo in the mist.
God,
it's just going to come out, and the Doctor goes, "Oh!"
I tell you what, it's enough to scare me. So it might as well be.
Very true.
What's everyone's most and least anticipated episodes of the series?
Okay,
if we can do that.
Space Baby is my least anticipated episode of the series, I think.
Was that the case to begin with
possible.
as
well? I think
from now,
because I honestly can't think of any of the next ones that are kind of lower on my list than.
If you ignore the first two that have gone out, just talking future ones for future videos, what do you think is going to be the best and worst ones? Because I think my favourite one's going to be the first part of the finale. Don't know why, I'm just feeling that's going to be a good one.
Right.
And my least favourite, I think, is going to be next week. I don't think next week's going to impress me. I don't know why. I'm not.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because of the hype, or
I think just because it looks so self-contained, and usually when an episode's self-contained, it doesn't grab me as much. I quite like having
like Midnight and your Wild Blue Yonders aren't really your.
No, I'm not a big fan of Midnight. Not a big fan of Wild Blue Yonder. So
See, that's my jam. So like,
that's more up my kind of street.
Yeah. So Boom's possibly up there for me, but I'm going to be honest. 73 Yards is one that's really intrigued me.
I think it's the most
intriguing
aside from the finale.
Welsh folk horror. If I'm going to watch one at midnight, I think
Mm.
I think 73 Yards is the one I'm going to choose as my midnight episode, because I think that's going to fit the vibe. And if I'm shattered and it's a really weird, I think so.
They land there at the start, and that's kind of all we know about it. There's so many different elements: the Welsh horror and folklore, the political.
And it's got sea devils in it
as well. It's got a war between the land and sea. So as you will. And Sian Phillips obviously, and all that kind of stuff. In maybe Dr. Light, it's I think there's a lot riding on that. Obviously, the same is true of the finale. I do think Boom will maybe be more up my street than what we've had so far, and like I say, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of sets the template. Although I can kind of see maybe sort of like Pete was saying, and like I was saying about the monster and stuff, or is it going to have a monster? I can see maybe visually it's not going to be as poppy or as the first two, or visually have as much going on, but I think the drama of having him
it's a Hitchcockian kind of thriller, really, isn't it?
Not able to move, and the reviews and stuff have been saying as well, like he can't even think too fast because like this landmine can sense everything that's going on, so he literally has to really restrain himself. And I think
it was going to be called Don't Move, wasn't it?
Don't Move.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But I think Stephen said that's too similar to Blink, so
yeah.
Boom.
73 yards.
I think he said. I think he said Boom. The title Boom would bring more joy to the world than Don't Move.
73 yards as well, Josh.
Sorry, Josh. Yeah.
73 yards. Russell said is one of the things that he's like most proud of that he's written.
Best things he's ever written. Yeah.
So that's intriguing, but also not many people have spoken about it. But I'm very intrigued by Dot and Bubble, which I've heard rumblings is quite Black Mirror-y.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in that respect as well, I'm just really appreciative of the way this season's been constructed, because we're getting very wildly different episodes. From going back to the Beatles to next week, it's like a sort of war zone story. Then you've got a folk horror. Then you've got a technologically based one, we assume. Then we've got Regency. I'm loving the way that this season's structured. But Dot and Bubble hasn't been spoken about a lot, but I'm very excited for that as well.
I think Dot and Bubble might be another Space Babies for me. I don't know why I'm getting that impression.
I
just feel like
it
I
might kind of split people. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely split people. Yeah. Which I mean, bring on
the drama. Yeah,
more to talk about.
More discussions.
I think a lot is riding on Dot and Bubble because a lot of people wanted that to be another guest writer slot. So if it's bad, I think a lot of people say, well, why didn't we have someone else write this? Why was it another Russell episode? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
There's always a twist at the end. We have now reached the end. So final thoughts from people. Rate. I know, you tell me.
You're going to sing, Pete. You're going to sing for us right now.
Wink at the camera and then sing. Do
it. Under pressure. I can't do that.
Under pressure. Queen
Under pressure by Queen. Yeah,
go for it. Yeah. Go on. Let's go.
Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
We're just going to cut to Johannes and Shirley having a dance to this now.
Yeah, they're in my bathroom. They'll be out in a minute.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's strange dances in my bathroom. Yes, there is.
Oh goodness.
Sorry, we totally derailed that then, Richard.
Not know how to follow that. No. There's always a twist at the end. Yeah. So final thoughts, rating is if you want to. I don't know, or just whatever. Give us a rating. Give us some thoughts. Give us a tune. Whatever you feel like.
Space Babies 6. out of 10. Devil's Chord. So that is a tricky one. Probably a 7. Probably a 7. Yeah. I was thinking maybe 8, but I think it's a 7.
Nice. Okay.
I've got anything else to say? Yeah, it was all right. Enjoyed talking to you guys. I would say I'm looking forward to next week, but I'm not really looking forward to next week. Hopefully, it'll be all right.
Sure.
Are you
He's
all
always
right?
the beacon of positivity.
It's nice. It's nice watching it at midnight. I'm enjoying watching it at midnight.
Okay, interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice event. Bringing my mate round, and
Are you going to watch every episode at midnight?
I wasn't going to, but I think I am. Apart from the finale, because I'm watching that with a mate, and he wants to watch it transmission. So,
But both
Which
parts.
one? Empire of Death,
second.
or
Second.
Oh, the second.
part.
Okay, yeah. Because the first one
Yeah,
had
so
a
I don't
big
think I can do that.
cliffhanger, isn't it?
first one
Not
apparently you
staying away
need to
from
watch.
spoilers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
first one
part
we'll need to have a watch party. Yeah,
of the
We'll do
problem I had with Devil's Chord was that I was sitting with my brother and his mate, both of whom studied music, I think. I don't know why I'm doubting this. Yeah, they did study music. And they're in a band. Anyway, they're in a band. And so every little bit of music trivia in it was kind of like, that's not right. And John Lennon didn't wear those glasses, and that didn't happen. And
yeah.
that's
I
not
watched.
right, and it's
I
not.
watched it with Izzy, and she, being a musician as well, from the start when Maestro's playing the piano as Timothy Drake gets killed, and it's like dun 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 dun, dun, but Jinx moves their hands over the piano like just wherever, and immediately I heard Izzy just go, "Oh, okay, here we go," braced for like all the incorrect, But to be fair,
Yeah.
like they got Ruby's piano double. I mean, that was pretty spot on. I didn't really see the join there, so
That's the only
yeah.
thing
I
I
also-
did notice during that scene. I noticed
Oh, really?
that the music wasn't
It wasn't
in time with
her,
what she was doing. Yeah.
right? Okay, yeah.
I remember
also
it
didn't-
sounding a bit weird as well. Like it sounded quite plunky almost. The way it was
Tinny,
played.
yeah.
It didn't
Really
sound
didn't
like
do
it was
justice.
played in the concert or whatever. Yeah, which I suppose I don't know whether they're going for like a realistic thing of
I thought they were going to
She's meant to
transition
be a
into
good-
it a bit
she's
more.
meant to be a good
Yeah.
musician. So yeah, I don't know.
I didn't like the zebra crossing at the end. That was rubbish.
I don't think anyone did. Yeah.
No, that was
I
rubbish.
thought it was fun. I liked it. I might be the only
So-
person.
I preferred it probably to the song. But I think
Really?
it's just
Yeah.
that. I think so, yeah. Although I was watching it and I was wondering, and I guess they've said since I think that it's all like after effects of Maestro, like leaving this realm or whatever. Like it's all leftover stuff, like with the toy maker. But in the moment, I didn't get that. I was just thinking, what is this? And yeah, like just like it brings me back to that comment from Russell where he was like, oh, there's a gobbling ship that can fly and nobody questions it. It just is that going to be the kind of case for everything now, and nobody's going to question it? Like anything's possible. Like you kind of have to draw the line somewhere, or I don't know. There's a danger with that maybe.
I also think it would have been quite nice if maybe this is a bit too funny. Too funny? No, too much of a fun thing. Cut that out. Cut that out. I'm not saying the word funny.
No, do not cut that out. Leave it in. In fact, just
saying
make that
nothing.
the video. Just make that the video.
That's the start of the video.
That's your
that,
one-line
Yeah,
review.
YouTube short.
That's your
or
review of
something,
Space Babies.
I don't know if it was too much of it would be too much of a fan thing, but I was kind of there thinking, wouldn't it be nice if like Maestro was also like, visuals as well, not just music, like visuals. And he's like, oh, I've wiped all the music and I've also wiped all these Doctor Who
Visuals,
episodes
yeah.
these reels.
Oh,
Maybe that was a
right.
bit too
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That would be
so
nice.
6
Yeah.
6 and a 7 I'd give it.
6 and a
I don't know
7.
what you guys thinking?
Go on, Josh.
I don't know if I could give it a rating, like a number. I definitely prefer Devil's Chord. I was just thinking as well, mentioning like the end with the Abbey Road. If there's like an after effect of these gods, like with the toy maker's hammer in the giggle causing the TARDISes to double, maybe there's something in that. Maybe every time there is one of these pantheon in an episode, after they're defeated, they leave something behind. I don't know, maybe there's
Yeah.
something in that. Yeah, definitely I prefer the Devil's Chord. These are fun introductory episodes of Doctor Who. they're not going to become favorites by any means, but they Space Babies did its job of getting new viewers into the show, or at least one new viewer. And the Devil's Chord was had more weight to it, I think, which served the character of Ncuti's Doctor better, because I don't think he's really had more dramatic moments like that, more emotional ones. So that was good, and looking forward to next week.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing that I
that's a good
thought
summary.
as well, which is probably a bit of a random thing to think while watching Space Babies, but I was thinking.
I think I might be able to hear. I might be able to guess what this is. Is it going to be like, oh, in 20 years' time or 40 years or whatever, they're all going to be doing a Phantom event? Is that it?
Well, kind of. I was thinking, I wonder which of the
thought that.
babies is going to be the first one that I'm going to get the autograph from.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was actually thinking, as well as the convention thing, actually, it's probably not going to be Toby Haydock by then, is it? But maybe it'll be one of us, but like doing a reunion documentary for them, like tracking them all down, like with the...
This is Pete's pitch for the next
Who's
collection
Doctor Who
box
thing.
set.
Yeah, where they go and find all the kids.
You
Finding the
pair them
kids.
up and pair the baby with the voice. Make
Oh
them,
my god, yeah.
that would be really
This
good.
is
good.
Eric, and he quit acting at 7 and became a drug user or whatever. Yeah.
I mean,
And it's like, why do you want to talk
apart,
to me?
Yeah, like there are probably going to be some of them that happen. Not that exact thing happens to. But like there will be some that kind of like drop off the radar.
Yeah,
like,
fame will go to their heads. They'll be on hard drugs by 12. You know, it's a hard life being a space baby.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen.
Could you imagine the collection set season 1? They get them back. So what do you remember of filming Space Babies? I don't remember.
Better than that, behind the sofa. Put on behind the sofa. Like, what is this?
That's what they'd have to do. They'd have to watch themselves, because that's the only way they'd get something out of it.
And they'd be like, God, I had a very low voice as a baby, didn't I?
Oh,
My mouth looked very weird.
Yeah, we've not mentioned the mouths yet. That was rubbish. I'll bring it down a point for that. 5 out of 10. Yeah, that was rubbish.
For the mouths.
I don't disagree.
No.
And Lenny Rush was going to be Eric.
Lenny Rush was going to be
Eric.
Yeah,
there we go.
I have to say, that was the first red flag for me in the series, was when those mouths started moving. That was like, oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not sure.
When Ncuti started talking?
No. Yeah. Hey, Lizard Girl was quite cute, wasn't she? She was nice. Not cute, that's the wrong word. I mean, like,
oh,
here
we go.
Cool. Don't quite know how we move on from this now. Anyway,
It's like the
and
Sea Devil
Miles.
Girls all over again, Pete.
Well, yeah.
No, you cut that out.
Amazing.
Nah, keep it in. Keep it in. If you're out there,
Please keep it
give
in.
me a call.
Another thing I forgot to mention, I really liked that little speech with in Space Babies with the Doctor and Captain Poppy about nobody grows up wrong. There's only one of you, and that's what's special. I really like that. That was a nice moment.
I think that was beautiful. Like when I was chatting on Knowing Who podcast with Ben, and he said it would have been nice if that was at the end, because that's almost like the moral, and it's kind of tying everything together. But it's shaking things up by putting it in the middle. You know, it's kind of like something different, isn't it?
And let's end with a weird, actually, how, because they flashed back to that, didn't they? I felt it weird how there were flashbacks with literal footage and everything for the resolution of both of the story, like with the Beatles, with the thing about the you put.
Yes,
I'm not going to do the voice, but like, oh, you put these notes together and it's so holy or whatever. I felt that felt strange. Like, you do it once maybe, not twice in a row.
Can I just say, I also love how it's been. Was it like on the same day that Space Babies and Devil's Chord aired? It was the same day that Father's Day went out, or near enough.
Oh, was
and someone shared a screenshot of Rose traumatic as the Doctor is eaten by a Reaper, along with a screenshot of a farting spaceship. And it's like, this is the same show. And that's brilliant. What I love about Doctor Who.
19 years apart.
I think that's why the more I talk about them, the more I watch them, and I just let all that baggage go and let all the worries go. I think, you know what? You know, I had fun. Space Babies is probably more middle of the road for me. I don't think it's ever going to be one that I'll jump back to. But certainly Devil's Chord, I think I really had a fun time with it. I enjoy being with these characters. No matter what, you know, sure, the character development hasn't quite got there yet for me personally, but I think that I'm still enjoying being along for the ride with these guys. And if there's anyone that you want to be seeing the universe with, I think these two are great guides. You know, Shooty and Millie as 15 and Ruby. It's just fun and it's just happy. And I think in this day and age, we kind of need a bit of that. So yeah, there we go. That's my 2 cents.
Your cosmic joyride awaits, as they say.
I like it. I really like that. I think that's a great tagline for the series. Better than same old, same old. The series Ryan went with. Same old shit.
Oh boy.
Oh, Siri's just gone. Hello, I'm not talking to you. Right. Oh.
Sorry, Richard. Is that the twist? The twist at the end.
The twist at the end is Siri was here all along.
Is it Susan Twist?
Oh.
Recording in progress.
Who do you think Susan Twist is? Quickly. Obviously, she's going to play Susan.
Should we all do like one prediction each for who we think Susan Twist is? Let's go around.
Okay, and see who gets closest. Which one am I going to say? I'm going to say most likely prediction probably that she's Ruby's mum, I guess. Just because I feel, I think I said this in a video recently, just because I feel like it's one of those things where the casual viewer might think, oh, like Mrs. Flood is the one, you know, the mother or the mysterious woman that is the answer to everything. And because so far, and I get a feeling that might change fairly soon, but so far, because the characters and the show hasn't acknowledged the whole Susan Twist thing, I think it is something that's kind of gone over people's heads. I don't think anyone, apart from us, has noticed it, apart from fans. I mean, two of them, the one at Christmas and the one in Space Babies, actually passed me by. I did not realise it was her. I only realised, I was only aware, obviously in Wild Beyond Her, because of the redacted actors thing. I knew who she was. And in Del's Chord as well, I was aware because she'd been credited on the cast list. And then next year we were playing Ambulance.
Aren't fans amazing how we predicted that she was going to be this character before she'd even been on the screen? Like, I love Doctor Who fans. Crazy. I love how we're always seeing patterns and things that aren't there. You know, it's like we knew from the start. You know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I need to go back to my first ever video I did on like before Wild Beyond Her, and I can't remember what I had to say about her at the time, but it'll be funny looking back. I think the whole Susan Twist thing is probably the thing I'm most invested in, actually, about the whole era at the moment, maybe. I think, like you're saying, Miles, I think even in principle and concept, even before we knew much about her and the character, just the idea of like a living, breathing bad wolf really intrigued me, and I thought, that's a genius way to do it. And I think we've talked about in videos before as well about like something like that. It's a really obvious thing to do, and I'm glad they've gone with it. So yeah, but Ruby's mum, I think I could see that happening.
It's my theory.
Just because, go on.
Sorry to interrupt, just my phone's literally about to die, so I'm just gonna
get it in there.
My theory is that S Triad is TARDIS, isn't it? So I'm thinking when Ncuti used that mallet and put the two TARDISes separate, an extra rogue spark element came off it, and that was Susan Twist.
I like that.
There's something. Russell said that there was going to be an explanation for the two TARDISes, or not an explanation. It's like we're going to go into that, and we've seen the whole memory TARDIS screenshot as well in the trailers. Someone had a really interesting theory on Twitter. I forget what exactly it was, but it was to do with that whole memory TARDIS thing, and I think that Susan Twist is a TARDIS essentially. She's a chameleon. She's got a chameleon circuit blending into all these places. I don't think she's quite helping the Doctor, but the Doctor hasn't noticed her yet. There's no interaction between the two of them at any point so far.
That would be neat. I think,
So who knows? Susan Triad, S Triad, TARDIS.
Yes.
I've got my phone is literally dying. So goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye,
subscribe to his channel, comment, say that I'm the prettiest on the channel, all that stuff. Goodbye. Have fun.
How long's it?
Goodbye. And then there were three.
And there were three. The Triad.
The Triad.
The Susan Triad. The TARDIS. Well, because the TARDIS groaned as well when it landed.
It did.
on Abbey Road,
Yeah.
like it did in While We're Yonder,
Yeah.
and the Doctor was like, "That's weird." So
I
something
think a lot
Yeah.
of these, when we've had the finale, I think there's going to be a lot of reward upon rewatch.
hope
We're going to
so.
notice so
Yeah.
many different things. There's so many things that you think back to those 2 episodes, and you're like, oh yeah, and there was that bit with Ruby and the Doctor in the snow, and
Yeah.
there's still the plot line of that woman in the churchyard and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
There's a lot to hook you in. If you're
I
not
don't think
invested
all of
in
it will be revealed though. I think because this is like a 2-year story we've got going. So
Mhm.
I think Susan Triad and all that we know is going to be in the finale. So I think that will get explained. But the one who waits, I think we're going to have to wait ourselves before we find out who that is.
But
Especially
then
since
Maestro
I'm
said that
thinking-
they're almost here, which shocked
True,
me.
true. That
Yeah.
is true. But also referred to him as a he. So it can't be Mrs. Flood or Susan Triad because he said why was he there? So it's another
Assuming
person.
assuming that's the
Mr.
same
Wirren.
person, just to be finicky about it. It could potentially be like there could be the boss, the one who waits,
The
chap who was
boss.
there.
So
Like
we've
all
got
these
that boss as
people
well.
could actually be
Yeah.
different people. I mean, I'm not saying necessarily
Yeah.
they are, but it's one of those where
So many
it's
elements.
ambiguous
Yeah.
enough to leave you guessing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exciting. It's still exciting.
Yeah.
Which is the best part. I think as much as Space Babies deflated me on the initial watch, the fact that I'm sat here and I'm still excited about it all says a lot. So
Mhm.
yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait for more. I can't wait for more.
I think there's
think
always
that's
a
the best.
buzz
Brilliant.
inside when there's new Doctor Who.
There is, yeah.
It's
No matter
great.
what, really.
And
Yeah,
so for the next 7 weeks, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride.
exactly. Yeah. Lovely. Lovely end. Lovely end.
Lovely stuff. Yeah,
Oh.
there we go. Well, I don't know how to follow that. There's always a twist at the end. Thank you for watching, everybody. Go and obviously check out everybody else's channels and stuff for the people that have stuff, podcast, whatever. And yeah, we'll see you again for Boom, I suppose. So thank you. And
Boom.
there we go.